Welcome to the Rajyoga meditation basic course. Now the 5th chapter, the eternal cycle of the world. God is called the ocean of peace, love, joy, happiness, and so on. In this metaphor, we souls are the rivers that flow into the ocean, means the soul world. The ocean water evaporates, rises, moves around the world as clouds, rains, falls, again forms rivers that flow into the ocean. This is a closed water cycle. It is the same with the daily cycle, the annual cycle, the blood cycle, and the cycle of the cycles of the planets. Everything starts again from the beginning. Why not also time, without beginning, without end? The usual conception of time is the evolution theory, from nothing to nothing. Einstein spoke of curved time. Did he mentally close them into a circle without presenting this idea publicly because it couldn't be proven or couldn't be understood at this time? Maybe, maybe not. The evolution theory, from nothing to nothing, where does our limited concept of time come from? Our limited time consciousness comes from limited life consciousness, from nothing before birth, to nothing after death. Eternity can only be imagined in a closed cycle. No beginning, no end, although there are different qualities. Everything becomes from new to old and then again from old to new. Eternity means eternity, yes. Christianity also knows the phrase from eternity to eternity, but maybe it is not understood properly. Plato, the Greek philosopher, spoke of different ages. He was also thinking in a cycle of the world. He called it Golden Age, the first part, and Silver Age, Copper Age, and Iron Age. And then the confluence in the middle, a small part. First is the Golden Age, the time of harmony, peace, joy, and happiness. Even in the Silver Age, we still live in peace, joy, prosperity, and happiness, but no longer in a glamour of freshness of the Golden Age. Suffering begins in the Copper Age. We lose pure soul consciousness. Instead, we identify with matter, the body, and the loss of power increases. The ancient cultures come and now emerge here. Maybe here the pyramids are built at the end of the Silver Age, and then here Egyptian culture was coming. But that's not sure. It's not. I cannot say it exactly. The next one is then the Iron Age. Many conflicts arise in the Iron Age. Suffering increases, even if in the end technical, medical, and economic developments make us believe in huge progress. At the same time, unhappiness is increasing, and we are on the border of destruction. You see so many conflicts are arising more and more. Wars, personality conflicts in the families and so on, and the destruction of the environment. More and more we can see that's going down. The short confluence age is the time of regeneration and ascent. With God's help and knowledge, we find our way back to the original happiness. We have developed downwards through our decisions and actions, which were not always the best. So we must also develop upwards again in our own responsibility through transformation. It's about 100 years, the duration of this conference age. In Germany, we call it the time between the years, between Christmas and New Year. You can also compare the cycle with the annual cycle or with the daily cycle, morning, forenoon, afternoon, evening, and night. In spring, in the year cycle, spring, summer, autumn, and winter. The cycle of the world on the left side illustrates the cycle with the soul world above. It's our home. It's the world of silence. The soul exists there. The individual soul exists there in opposite of Buddhism belief. But its records and programs are dormant. They are not unfolded. The program unfolds when the soul incarnates like a seed on Mother Earth into a human body. The soul then reincarnates until the end of the cycle. Only at the end does everyone return to the resting place of the soul world until a new impulse triggers the new incarnations of the next cycle. Boring because it's always the same? No, because there are countless scenes, both individually and as a whole. Moreover, we can remember yesterday, today, but not the past life, let alone the last cycle, especially since the stay in the soul world acts like a filter that makes us forget everything we have experienced here. The soul world is a filter. It would also not be useful in the golden age here to remember the previous iron age, because we would immediately become mentally, emotionally infected by this memory. Quasi-memories are nevertheless possible. Think, for example, of déjà vu memories. Also, one knows that one has not yet had a certain experience in this life, in a scene or in a place, one gets the feeling of knowing it. I myself got visions of the golden age in trance states, but by the way, visions of the future or déjà vu experiences are only conceivable in the cycle model. Recognizing is always recognizing again, because only what is stored in the subconsciousness as an image in the previous cycle can be recognized and resonated. The Golden Age. In the Golden Age, people spent 8 lives in an absolutely happy state here. Inside and therefore also outside, everything is present in abundance. 12 lives follow in the Silver Age. We still spend this in contentment and happiness, but the splendor has already faded. Here it is the saying 16 celestial degrees, and then here only 14 degrees, and we lose more and more our power. At the end of the Silver Age, the first noticeable effects appear. Then the energy slowly tips over. We lose the spiritualized consciousness, the soul consciousnness, and we increasingly identify with the body that we are not. Whereas before we were sovereign rulers over matter. Sovereign rulers over matter. Now, as a result of body identification, we subjected ourselves to the laws of matter and thus to the loss of energy of matter. Do you understand this? The identification with with the body. We are coming under the influence of the laws of matter. And so we lose energy like the matter more and more. energy as such does not pass away, but it transforms into other aggregate states. In practice, this means that everything changes from new to old. The house was once new and becomes old. The car was once new and becomes old, and so on. And we experience as a loss of inner peace, of inner happiness, inner power, and so on. Despite the upheaval in the transition from the Silver Age to the Copper Age, we still live relatively contently in the Copper Age. Great cultures such as those of the Egyptians here and Greeks emerge. The light stars in the second half here, these light stars, the light stars in the second half of the cycle symbolize the founders of religion: Abraham, Buddha, Christ, and Mohammed. In the fourth quarter, the so-called Iron Age, suffering in the form of wars, hunger, etc., increases considerably. The population multiplies rapidly at the end of exponentially, because most souls come from the soul world here to Earth only towards the end of the cycle. Many have only one life per cycle. The doubling of the world population maybe is in the last 35 years. So you can see most of the souls, not all, but most of the souls are new souls coming. New souls, they are coming fresh from the soul world. First, in their childhood, in their youth, they feel well. Regardless of the length of time on Earth, all souls pass through the different stages of happiness and unhappiness, represented by the differently sized stars of happiness here. Golden Age, Silver Age, Copper Age, Iron Age. The decrease of happiness is not a punishment of God or devil, but a consequence of the law of cause and effect, and a consequence of energy transformation. But all is well at the end. But all is well at the end, that ends well. But all is well that the ends well. In German, Ende gut, alles gut. All souls are delivered from suffering, regardless of their religious affiliation. For God the Father is neither Catholic nor Buddhist once more. All souls are delivered from suffering, regardless of their religious affiliation. For God the Father is neither Catholic nor Buddhist. It is above that. However, the number of individual incarnations in the whole cycle varies greatly. While a few souls go through 84 lives from the beginning to the end as embodied deities and later as humans, many may experience only one life in the whole cycle, with one birth per cycle. These souls cannot indeed imagine rebirth. To conclude this chapter, there remains the question of the duration of the identical cycles of an eternally repeating endless film. You understood? To conclude this chapter, there remains the question of the duration of the identical cycles of an eternally repeating endless film. I personally had no problems absorbing all the Rajyoga knowledge. There was one exception namely that the cycle should only last 5,000 years. In my geography and geology studies, there was talk of billions of years. Let me say right away, I could not solve my problem of the 5,000 years with the scientific thinking. It was not possible to solve this problem, but it was completely solved with meditation and with the attainment of a higher consciousness. From a higher point of view, I could see 5,000 years. If to see a mountain down below is wood, as long you are in the wood, you cannot see very far. But if you are on the top, you can see very far. And then I could see also this problem with the 5,000 years. It was very clear afterwards, no doubts anymore. Nevertheless, an attempt at an explanation. Time measurements of archaeological finds, for example, are based on the radiocarbon method. This does not take into account that the state of aggregation of matter changes with the consciousness of mankind. This does not take into account that the state of aggregation of matter changes with the consciousness of mankind. So first I read these texts. My formula are first, high consciousness in the golden age, light and bright matter. Second, however, the consciousness of humanity condenses exponentially, especially towards the end, for example, with the increase of the Earth's population. Third, if one does not take into account the change in consciousness and the corresponding compression of matter, one necessarily arrives at exponentially increased and therefore huge periods of material creation. Once more here with the graphic. Golden age, light consciousness, you see less points. Light matter, light consciousness, light matter. Iron age, dense, heavy consciousness, means dense, heavy matter, indicates long times in measurements. Here, light consciousness, light matter, short period is not a bed, looks like a bed, it's a time. Here, time. And here, many points, heavy matter means a long time. But this is not right here. It should be go many kilometers outside the window. It must be in reality very much longer. So, and here in red is written, quantum physics proved the influence of the consciousness on matter more than 100 years ago. One example, I told it before, I think, the observer effect. It's for quantum physics, it's very clear that the consciousness has an directly influence to the matter. So this maybe was a challenge for you. As for me, for more than 35 years, I developed these graphics. But now I will finish and make a small meditation again. First, a little bit of silence. I am a spiritual being. I am a peaceful, loveful soul in the middle of the forehead. I get an impulse and go down the first time from the soul world down to the earth. I incarnate very happy in a womb of a woman, The birth is very easy. I get a feeling I'm most welcome. I'm growing up in health, happiness, peace, joy. All around me is perfect. Happy parents, beautiful environment, wonderful nature, super senses joy all the time. I'm growing up. Also as an adult, I'm very happy. The lifespan is very long. In the beginning of the golden age, maybe more than 150 years. After this time, I leave the body conscious and willingly. First, I see where I'm coming in the next birth. There is no attachment. Not from this person which goes, not from that persons which are behind. So I go through 8 births in the golden age in a very happy stage. Also in the silver age, happiness is there. But we lose it a little bit, but we don't realize it. At the end of silver age, slowly some emptiness is coming, little bit. It's very subtle. Then a little bit more. Then we change from soul consciousness to body consciousness. And with the beginning of the copper age, we are in body consciousness. The happiness has not gone, but she is less. We see outside, here, over there, maybe conflicts of people, of countries. Then the first religious founders are coming. At least we come to the Iron Age. And at the end of the Iron Age, we realize we are definitely not happy. But we feel deep inside, we were happy. What we experience now is not enough. We are searching, but we cannot find the way back to our original happiness. then God comes in my consciousness. For myself, these were very deep experiences I experienced, and until this time, I not known deep stage of inner peace, love, happiness. After a while, I realized God was touching me. And so, after understanding his knowledge more and more, I began with my transformation with God's help. I was happy to find my way back to God and to my original stage of the beginning of my journey. This was a high speed traveling through the cycle. Most important, that you more and more feel your inner qualities, your inner resources, they are covered and mixed with not helpful beliefs, with negative concepts. They didn't bring us back to our original stage, but with the power of God, we can inside regenerate us. And I can say to you, it's a very easy and powerful way. Thank you so much for your attention.